Good day. Welcome to our program. We went to the office of the Inuvialuit where we sat and talked with Floyd Roland. He tells about what's been happening at the legislative level in Yellowknife. But first, let's look at an interview I did with him a while back in our studio. We're glad that you could join us. For TAMAPTA, I'm Lois Rogers.
I guess one of my concerns has always been education, and that's something that I hope that the territorial government will take a better look at our education system and what we're producing out of there. And I guess more concerns about social issues, and that's what I hope you'll do in this session along with everybody else.
I guess my biggest concern is about services in this area, how we could make services better for the people here, the people that are here, how to service them, how to demonstrate better services, therefore giving better examples to the younger people. Oh, Floyd Roland, I think he's going to be an asset to this area. He's young, he's energetic, he's got lots to offer. I think his head and his heart is in the right place. He's going to represent the people really well.
Well, hopefully he does a little bit more for the town, put the town on the map a little bit more. And I don't know, he's just a newcomer too, so he's got lots of ropes to learn too.
This evening we're talking with Floyd Roland, the new MLA of Inuvik. He's going to be talking about some concerns that were put forth on the street. Can you make some comments on some of those?
On the concerns that I was able to view there through your program, there are issues that I also dealt with on campaign. One of the ones there was I'm going to be representing the community equally, everybody. That's the way I stand on things, and I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people support me, was the fact that I will be open and make myself as much available to Inuvik, as well as the concerns of living here. Mm-hmm. That was a big issue, is to be more visible within the community, and I think my experience with those coming from community organizations right now is very, very solid. I'm going to do my best in the future here to maintain try and maintain as close ties as I have, being involved with them hands-on. So, social issues, education, those are a couple more, as well as I guess when it comes to the social issues, not only do we have a big number of them here that concern our community, as well as the rest of the territories. But for Inuvik, I think what we're in the process of doing, and what I'd want to keep on trying to help happen here, is to get our services to work together. What I've seen in the past is a lot of organizations, groups, as well as within government, working in their own area. And a lot of times they're trying to do the same thing, but without proper communication. They're going about it, and they're not getting as a good result as it could be if they were working together. And that's what I've seen lately, is it's starting to do that, and we're realizing, especially with the money shortage that we've been hearing about and is there, we have to work together. And as well as on the campaign trail, I made comments that in the next 4 years, when the dust settles, after the cuts have been made, whatever they may be, as of yet, I'm not too sure. But when things come down, and with division being talked about, if we're not strong within the community, we're going to have a hard time trying to survive here in the next number of years. So my concern is to try and keep Inuvik strong. And there's going to be some things happen that we can't change, but we can really have a positive impact by working together as a whole community. And that's one of my main goals. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the social concerns themselves, I believe that, and I've said it during my campaign, strong families. Strong families, strong community. If we have strong families, we're going to have a strong community. Mm-hmm. And that means healthy families. So there's something we're definitely going to have to work to improve and work together. And, mm-hmm. and I've been at a few meetings so far and talking to different groups, and we're definitely heading in that direction. And one of the big meetings I was at recently was community wellness. And I think that's an area where we can really have some really good results in. But again, it requires working together and being as open as possible for all the groups to work together. And if we're going to, I mean, when we all got involved in the things we did it for the community, for the people in that town. And that's, I think, when you get into it, sometimes all the regulations and the way you're supposed to do things, policies, they slow you down. And we sometimes lose direction as to what we were initially went in, we had our own idea. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. We refocus and look at. And I know myself, becoming the Inuvik's MLA, that I've got to myself be, I'll have to do that refocusing on a regular basis to make sure I'm not losing touch with the community. Mm-hmm. That's going to be important.
How long did you serve before being elected to cabinet?
I put almost 3.5 years in as an ordinary member, the terminology we use down in the Assembly. Mm-hmm. I sat on the Social Programs Committee, or Social Envelope Committee as we call it. Mm-hmm. Dealt with health, social services, housing, justice, and education, culture, employment.
Your position in cabinet has changed dramatically in the last year. Can you elaborate on the changes and why it has changed so much?
Well, it's been a fairly significant change since December 11th, '98. That's when I was first elected to cabinet, and at that time our new premier was elected, Jim Antoine. And it was at that time the simplest move was to take on the portfolios that he'd moved off from, and that was transportation and public works. Those are the two portfolios I took on. We knew that there was going to be a shuffle again in March when Nunavut went on its way, and we elected 2 more ministers to our cabinet for the Western Territory. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was given the 2 portfolios that he had. He kept Aboriginal Affairs and took on the executive, and I took on Transportation Public Works. March, we had an election for the new ministers, and at that time there was a significant portfolio change amongst a lot of existing ministers and the 2 new ministers who come on. And myself, the fairly significant changes, I'd moved over to Health and Social Services, as well as the Housing Corporation, and was given the title as Deputy Premier.
Okay, what's your job, sort of like a job description of a deputy premier?
Deputy Premier, I'm more as I guess being second in line in a sense of different things that would come up, whether it's in the Assembly or not. For example, if Mr. Antoine, our Premier, is off doing other meetings when we're in Assembly, then I would take the lead role in a sense. If members had questions to the Premier, they would come to me. Mm-hmm. And if I had the information, I'd be able to deal with them, or else I would take the requests for information and pass them on to Jim. Other areas is if there's activities or events throughout the territory that our Premier Jim Antoine couldn't make or attend, then he would send me in his position to do that. Right now it's fairly light in the sense of the workload, but I also take it quite seriously. We're having to make sure we maintain confidence in our government, and things I do at that level have to be done so with a lot of care.
Mm-hmm. When is the next elections, and what do you, as an MLA or a deputy premier, personally get ready for?
We finally brought the issue of the next election to closure. We had the boundaries bill go through, Bill 15, which establishes new ridings in the Northwest Territories. And we also set the date of December 6th. The writs go down as of this October 22nd, and we dissolve the Assembly October 21st. Mm-hmm. From that point on, when the writs go down, my office here in Inuvik as MLA for Inuvik gets closed. All offices for members are closed at that point, and that's done specifically to address the concerns that existing members don't have an upper hand in the elections compared to the other candidates that are running. My role as Deputy Premier and my other roles as Minister of Health and Social Services and Housing Corporation continue to go. I still have to fulfill my mandate at those levels at the executive and make sure that the business of the day continues to go on. No new decisions will be made because you need the Assembly as a whole to do that. But we will continue on until the next cabinet is sworn in.
Mm-hmm. We're 5 months into division, and how, after division has happened, how is it going so far in terms of our own territory here?
I think we're seeing some changes happening that weren't all that well prepared for, in a sense. One of the things we found ourselves is that with division, we know that there was going to be some downsizing at the headquarters end of things, and that's impacted how we can do things. I think departments are still, and I know from my experience, are still trying to address the different role they're playing now. We are still working, doing a lot of work for Nunavut. We have a lot of service contracts with them to provide services because they're still a ways from becoming fully functional, in a sense. They're still dealing with becoming organized, in a sense, to be able to do all the duties that a government would be able to, in a sense, be fully burdened to do. Mm-hmm. So we have service contracts with them and provide services with them. And we're, in a sense, adapting to our new territory, as we call it, in the north here, that we have to continue to provide service and programs at the level that we did previous to division. That's one of the primary goals. I mean, that's something a lot of us have always said, that because of division we shouldn't see any reduction in services, and that's we're trying to maintain that our level of service right now.
Mm-hmm. Next government has to deal with the Constitution. What would you like to see in our side of the NWT's Constitution?
We have a lot of different, for example, different discussions going on. We have the self-government talks that are happening. We have 9 different areas that's going on. We have some are very close to agreements in principle, as we call it, and some starting to begin work on final agreements. And that impacts on how we will be able to deliver services and programs in the north. And hopefully through it all, we'll be able to work a program out or a process out that will be open and fair to everyone in the Northwest Territories, that will see us improving on the way we do business in the territories and having everybody involved in it, mm-hmm. right from education to healthcare to government programs in the area of business development. You know, I think that we need to be able to do something that's going to be open to everyone and still allow us as a territory as a whole to prosper. We have a lot of potential here in the Northwest Territories, mm-hmm. and if we can't come together in agreement on what we're going to do for all residents of the territories, we all suffer for it. So I think this is very important that we come together as governments and come to agreement on how we want to see development of our Northwest Territories. And I think this discussion has gone on for assemblies previous to this. I mean, the 13th Assembly, we've dealt with it in quite a lot of detail. Previous governments have dealt with it to try to come to some sort of closure, as we would call it. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But I think we've all learned a lot from the processes. And there was a lot of concern raised actually early on that the self-government process needed to catch up to the public government process. And we're seeing that happen now. And as they start continue to move forward and bring closure to some of the self-government tables, that will only help us as a public government come together and deal with the issues that would benefit all residents.
Mm-hmm. Well, you touched on self-government now. I have to ask a question. How does the NWT's government work? Do you work closely with the self-government process?
Yes, we do. As cabinet, we've worked quite closely with all the different tables that are going on, the discussions. We have negotiators at every negotiations that are happening, from community governments to regional governments. So the approach we have in the Beaufort Delta, it's a partnership approach that we're looking at, and we've done a fair bit of work in trying to I guess, come to agreement on how we would see the transition occur. And how we could improve on service delivery. So as government, yes, we've been very involved. On the political front, I guess some would say that it's not been enough. And some would argue the other side, we're too involved. And each different negotiations table is a little different. But I really believe that if we're going to truly benefit residents overall, we all have to work together. And come up with a satisfactory system that people aren't afraid of, that will see an improvement in services. Because right now, this day and age, you know, we've had to undergo a lot of change, and some of it's been very difficult. But I think a majority of it's been for the positive, and we need to continue to work in that light. And we need to, you know, recognize our differences, but also recognize that we need to work together to make it better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. I asked you a question about what's your job as a deputy premier. Can you elaborate on your different portfolios?
Yeah, I've since the change in March, I've taken on the positions of Minister of Health and Social Services and the Housing Corporation, and they're actually work quite well, because as I stated earlier, as a member of the Assembly, I sat on the Social Programs Committee that dealt with both of those departments. So I had 3.5 years of sitting on the other side of the table, so to speak. But we have some real serious tasks at hand. For example, on the Health and Social Services side, is to try to bring some stability back to that. I mean, over the years, it's been a very highly debated subject of quality of care, of level of care. I mean, just as recent as a number of months ago, we're going through, and even this summer, going through nursing shortages in a lot of the communities. It's a Canada-wide sort of epidemic, I guess, of the shortage of nurses and the professionals at that level. And we've tried to deal with that, and we have been. We've just actually recently, a committee was formed to deal with, as we call it, a retention recruitment of nurses and social workers, and to that level.
Are you involved with the building of the new hospital here?
Well, as minister, yes, that's something we're continuing to work on, is to ensure that the facility is built. Is a commitment made by our government. We know we have to replace the aging facility we have here in the community. For myself, I have to make sure I'm focused and looking at it from the department-wide as a territorial-wide issue. And Inuvialuit Hospital is part of it. And I just trying to make sure that overall we provide a good care of for the people in the Northwest Territories, both within health and social services. And one of the things that we're dealing with and trying to address the needs and expectations of people in the territories, as well as share information on some of the costs we face as a government in the area of health and social services. As we've established a health forum, and it's in the very near future going out to communities to start talking with them on their concerns, as well as sharing the information. I think it's very important. We need to share information on our existing cost factors we face, and some of the areas we think where we see some of those going through the roof, so to speak. I mean, I have a very serious concern, the sustainability of what we have and how we can carry it forward. So that message hopefully will go out, is that we need to make sure we ensure that we can carry forward a system that's sustainable, that meets the needs of people. And people's choices. As individuals, we play a big part in the quality of healthcare we have. The other role I have is with Housing Corporation, and that's a continuing one. To try and meet the demands of all the residents in the Northwest Territories for their housing needs, in light of all the restraints that have been placed on us. But I think we've done a fairly good job, and you know, with what we have available, we are trying to meet the needs of residents and put people in adequate housing.
Mm-hmm. What do you see the government of the Northwest Territories doing in the future?
I think that's a question that's going to have to be left, in a sense, to the new elected members of the Assembly. December 6th is the election. They'll have to decide what their biggest areas are to bring forward. I know what we're doing as the 13th Assembly is trying to put enough pieces of the puzzle together to sort of put something together so that the new members of the Assembly can look at it to see the work we've done as the 13th Assembly and some of the unfinished projects we have, or some of the areas we feel are of concern that they should look at initially to see if they agree or not. It all depends on who gets back in and what philosophy they hold as a government in trying to bring some of these issues to closure. But I guess personally would like to see us continue the road we're on. We've gone through a lot of change, and I think we're in the mode of rebuilding, and we need to allow that rebuilding to occur. A lot of changes that have happened, I don't believe we've had the full time perspective sort of thing to see the outcome of our changes. And we need to do that, and we need to continue from a headquarters, from a regional level, to work on the different aspects of governance. You know, we need to bring that to closure so people know who they go to, where they go to, and what avenues that they have for themselves to be able to try and work in the system, stay employed, have adequate housing, have good health care, have a good education system. So. Well, I think there's a lot of changes that are happening, just for our community alone. Let's look at the next election coming up. I, as a member for Inuvik, had the responsibility for the whole community, and continue to work that way. And the next election is going to be quite different. We have 2 members now as a result of Bill 15. We have 2 members in Inuvik, and we're going to have 2 ridings. So I think that alone is fairly significant. People are going to have to be able to understand the change in process. There's still, I think, it's a positive thing. We have another voice that can go to Yellowknife and bring issues forward. But we need to work together, the community. I see myself, I've yet to decide which side of the community I'm going to run, and I've let people know I'm going in for another term. I see the work that we're doing as being positive and important, and I think I still need to do what I can to ensure Inuvik remains a strong community in the new Northwest Territories, and that's important for us. I think as election comes around, that even though people will be voting in 2 different areas, that's not drawn, it's not closed. It's we'll have to work together for the benefit of the whole community, not just half the community.
Okay, thanks for your time, Floyd.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the program. Watch for TAMAPTA each Thursday, where we'll bring you, our viewers, more programming from our area. Thanks again for watching. Good day.